Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Levi with your show, The Dr. Levi Show. Today is March 7th, 2018. Beautiful here in Los Angeles. I hope wherever you are, you're making it a great day. Remember, every day is a gift. If you wake up, then that means there's more work to be done. So I'm happy to have you with us today, and I want to thank you for all the really wonderful comments we got about last week's show. It was really heartwarming. So I want to thank you for all the emails that I received. It made me feel really good. I believe that our show is really about bringing forth a platform for artists, musicians, producers, writers, directors, physicians, for everyone to have a platform to talk about who and what they are and why they're here. The goal with our show, of course, is to make sure that everyone is the best possible expression of themselves. Because who you are or what you are, guess what? That is enough. There's only one of you in the entire universe. You are uniquely you, and you take you wherever you go. How spectacular is that? So be glad about your life. Be glad about who you are, and no matter what your challenges are, because guess what? All of us, we have our ups and our downs, our highs and our lows. But guess what? It's the key with all of those is really when you're down, you just pick yourself up, you keep on going. Knock down again, you pick yourself up and keep going. You knock on the door, it doesn't open, knock on a different door. Knock on the window, but keep on knocking until your message, your truth is known. We're here to be the best versions of ourselves, and I know that you can do it. So I want to thank you for joining us today. You know, I was thinking about medical moments and what I would talk about for the past week. And one thing that I thought about that we really not talked about extensively, and that is CrossFit. So we're going to hashtag CrossFit today. So what is CrossFit? CrossFit is high intensity interval training. And I love CrossFit. I've been doing it for most of my life, or versions thereof. And I think it's really a great opportunity to become not only more fit, but also to embrace fitness as a lifestyle. When it comes to being fit and working out, it's not about simply working out when you feel like it or when you want to go to the gym. It's really about doing something every day to maintain cardiovascular fitness as well as mental clarity. See, one thing that's not talked about with fitness that it does, it gives you mental clarity about what you want to achieve. It gives you a chance to really focus on what you want to do. It's not simply about working out for 45 minutes to get the big biceps and triceps and great glutes. Those are secondary byproducts. But the number one thing that working out does, it gives you mental clarity. It gives you a chance to really clear your mind and to be focused about what you want to do. The same with meditation. That's why I love prayer and meditation so much, because both of those entities, I believe, give us an opportunity to feel good about who we are and why we're here. But again, it gives us a sense of just taking out the social media aspect, taking away the television, the radio, all these other things that impinge our minds, to really have stillness. And I believe in the stillness, we're able to actually access the quiet mind of God, which is within us, to know who we are and why we're here and what we have to achieve to make the world better. It's not simply about living a life of what can I get, what can I get. You know, you only get what you're willing to give away. So it's really about living a life of service. It's really about living in integrity, living in truth, living in gratitude, and living in a way that you know you've done the best possible version of yourself. So with that said, let's circle back to high-intensity interval training, CrossFit. The great thing about CrossFit, it doesn't simply give you strength, but it does give you cardiovascular fitness as well as flexibility. There are gymnastic skills involved also. And also there's a sense of community. What I love about the gym where I go is the sense of when I walk in, I'm saying hello to people that I really want to see. I'm working out with them. We're all going through the same pain sometimes, because it is painful at times. It's not an easy journey. The great thing about fitness, I believe, it's not the easiest way to be healthy, but it's one of the only ways to be healthy. We have to do it. Even when you don't feel like it, you have to do things to embrace your body, because it's the only one that you'll ever get. So enjoy and appreciate, eat properly, and avoid things that you know aren't good for you, like vaping and hookah and smoking and drugs and excessive alcohol use. Those things will have an impact on our bodies. Appreciate the body that you have. Again, I hearken to, I think it was one of the supermodels, and I believe it was Kate Moss, but I could be wrong about that, so I may be misquoting this. But again, I've said this before, but I've always loved her quote, and the quote is, "Nothing tastes as good as fitness and health feels." I've always loved that because I think it's such a profound statement. Again, nothing tastes as good as fitness and health feels. If you think about it, it's so very true. If you feel healthy and feel good, why would you want to go out and eat a gallon or pint of ice cream knowing that you have to work that off later? Or a big bag of snacks that are filled with dyes and sugar and sodium and fat where you have to work this off. I always think to myself is, if I want that, I'm also thinking, do I want to work it off also? I think both things. Not simply do I want it because it tastes good, but do I want it and do I want to work it off later? So something to think about. Well, the great thing about CrossFit, it gives you an opportunity to really embrace the best version of yourself with respect to your health. It gives you a chance to really lower things like your blood pressure. If your blood pressure is elevated, it gives you a chance to lower your blood pressure, to have your blood sugars appropriately maintained, as well as, again, mental clarity. It's this big endorphin rush for a while, and then there's the calm after the storm. So I want to embrace CrossFit because it is a lifestyle. And again, with everything, it's about balance and moderation. So yes, CrossFit is great. Should you do it every day? Well, most likely not, but you can do it several days of the week and then do other things like a Zumba class, maybe take a hike, maybe swim, maybe do the Stairmaster, but do different things because the body likes diversity. A very fit body is a body that does a lot of different things. For myself, I love to skydive. I love to hike. I love CrossFit, of course. I love gymnastics. I really love boxing. I love mixed martial arts. And guess what? Every week, I do different varieties of all of those different things. I may not skydive as much as I like, but I still try to do that at least once or twice a month. So I want to say to you, challenge your body. I encourage you to consider CrossFit. Take a class and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, take it again. If you don't like it the second time, take it a third time. By the fourth time, you'll love it. Trust me. Just do it until you love it. Well, we have a great show planned for you today. I often love to have on the show different creatives. The creatives are I think creatives basically drive societal thought because creatives bring forth truth. They do it through their artistry, through what they weave and sew, through their dance, through their rapping, through their acting. But I believe the creatives are really the heart and soul of our consciousness. And that's why I love speaking to them, because whenever I speak to a creative, it can be an artist, it can be an artist such as a rapper or a musician or a sculptor, whatever. Whatever they do, what I often find is that they have a story about why they do it, because their artistry represents their, what I call the thread of life, how they've been living. Because you can only talk about what you've experienced. You can only write about what you've lived. You can only sing about what you have been through. So I often think many artists often have lives that are somewhat tortured at times. They've gone through extraordinary challenges, extraordinary defeats, extraordinary challenges. But guess what? Extraordinary victories, extraordinary successes, extraordinary areas of fantasticness. So I love speaking with them because they give me insights into our communities, into our society, and guess what? Into myself, who I am, what I am, why I live, how I live, and how I can be a better me, a better doctor, a better person of service. So I want to welcome to the show today, rapper extraordinaire, humble, great, energetic, creative. I want to welcome to the show today, Mr. Phenomenal Matt Rose. Hey. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Levi. Appreciate it.
Dude, I'm so happy to have you here with us today. We're going to dive deep on a lot of things about your artistry, about your life. Where are you from?
I was actually born in the middle of the country, Kansas City, Kansas.
How did you get to Los Angeles?
It's a long journey. Spent the first 8 years in Kansas.
Yes.
Then my family kind of went over to Florida. I lived in Florida for almost 10 years.
Yes.
Then I shot up to Boston where I went to college. I lived there for 5 years.
Yes.
And then I finally made it all the way over here to the West
LA?
Coast. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you here, man.
Thanks.
What was family life like for you? Do you have brothers and sisters, and are they also creatives?
Yeah, I mean, I have like a very wide family in the sense that we've kind of like added on some people.
Yes.
But I have 2 full blood brothers.
Yes.
And I have a sister, an older sister, and I'm the youngest. And I have pretty much an adopted brother there. It's
Fantastic.
like, it's family.
Of course, of course, of course. Are they also in music? Or are they artists? What do they do?
Let's see. I have one of my brothers is a photographer.
Yes.
John. Mike is a pianist and a producer.
Uh-huh.
Damien is just like a creative mind in general. He's a creative director.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
And my sister is a professor at a college.
Fantastic. What about your mom and dad?
Mom she works for the government, actually, and my dad is a preacher, and then he owns his own business. So
fantastic,
it's an
yeah.
interesting combination.
No, and what do your parents think about you embracing this life as a rapper, as a musician, as a songwriter?
I think they're pretty supportive of everything. I mean, they definitely like to voice their opinion
Right.
on how things are gonna go.
Right.
Especially when I decide I'm gonna go to school for music, they're like, "Oh, that's what you,
Yeah,
that's what you wanna do."
right.
But they've always been like very supportive, and they've helped me along the way. Whatever I need, if they can do it, then they will do it, and it's really no question. It's kind of I have a support system through them. Like moral support system.
Absolutely. I'm sure your brothers and sisters are also very supportive.
Super. I mean, they're very involved. I am constantly working with them on different things, like whether it's like, oh, can you work on the production for this, or can you do some photography for this project,
yes.
or can you help creative direct? I need some ideas from here, and literally my project wouldn't be anything close to what it is without them.
That is fantastic. And when is your CD drop? It's going to be soon.
So
right?
we're looking at releasing in June.
It's coming up.
It's coming up.
Literally
So
less than 3 months.
Yeah, less than 3 months. So the first single will be out in April. It's called Apology. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to get out. I'm excited for the world to hear
I'm
it.
excited for you,
yeah.
So I, if you don't mind, I'd like the world to hear Apology right now. I think it'll be, I want to tell everyone, if you join us right now, we have on our show right now the extraordinary, talented Matt Rose, he exemplifies authenticity with respect to his music, his artistry, and really his life. He lives a life that is valued in service as well as valued in his artistry and creative genius. So he's now going to present to us, before anybody else, Apology. So let's do it.
I'm gonna give you the first verse kind of broken down into like a
Fantastic.
poetic kind of way. So tell me what you know about a sacrifice or an afterlife. Did my unborn baby get pacified when the angels escorted her to pass us by? Things I think about just to pass the time. Things that kept me up like half the night. Born a son of a pastor to a pastor's wife. That's a father with no time. That's a master's life. 2 brothers that have mastered strife. Eyes are tight because we can laugh despite. Crooked smiles can only cast a light. And when that ain't enough, then we'll pass the pipe. See, I don't need permission to deal with what I'm dealing with. Feeling this, I don't need permission to deal with what I'm dealing with. Feeling this, no man can tell me where the heck my ceiling is. Or an angel tell me that me needing hits. Need a fit the Henny or plenty. Many a times we're filling with wine and these feelings are failing our kidneys. Oh, you with me? Well, probably not. Hearing things, these things aren't a lot, but this is what I've got.
It's very heavy, man.
Thank you.
Very heavy and very deep.
Thank you.
So where did that come from now? Because those are very soulful, very intense, unapologetic themes that you are talking about, and you're talking about them really fearlessly. So I want to hear about the nidus of that song.
Yeah, so I've moved around a lot my entire life,
yes.
And just to kind of understand where it all came from. I'm the youngest of all of these brothers and sisters that I have.
Right.
Well, my 2 brothers, 2 of my brothers have sickle cell. And when I was about 8 years old, the Make-A-Wish Foundation heard about them, and they submitted the application, all that kind of stuff. And they came in and they were granted 2 wishes. So my oldest brother, Mike, he wished for a black lacquer piano, like an upright.
Yes.
And they were like, cool, no problem. And they delivered that piano.
Fantastic.
And my brother John wished for like a really, at the time, was cutting edge Dell computer.
Yes.
And the combination of those two things kind of led me to where I am. I mean, I used to come home every day, and we were a pretty poor family, so it was like, there's nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do. I came home, you didn't have cable, we didn't have any of that stuff. I just sit home and kind of mess around on the piano.
Yes.
And just kind of tinker around, teach myself a couple chords here and there, kind of thing. And eventually, my older brother, he really kind of got into like producing on that computer that we got. So using like his skills from like learning piano and producing, and that made a huge impact on me wanting to kind of follow in his footsteps.
Yes.
You know? And so I guess from the jump, I kind of wanted to be like that. I wanted to be a producer, and I wanted to, I want to make music.
Yeah, you want to make music.
But I think I realized, like, as much as, sometimes we love to do things, sometimes we're not made to do those things. And I kind of accepted, like, there's another path for me to go.
Right.
And instead of trying to, be like someone else, kind of find my own lane in it.
That's the best thing.
Right. So I started writing songs to my brother's production. And kind of, okay, cool. Now it's not it's like we can work together on this. We can, we can be a team. And, my brother John just kept going along, and he's done, he helped me with some video stuff. He's helped me with photography. He's kind of learning his own digital experience, and like, it's just been, it's amazing.
So. I think it's great too. And I love the fact that you were clear about finding your own path. That you're not trying to look to the side to see where anyone else is. You're just looking straight ahead to do the best possible version of Matt Rose. That's the ticket. Not trying to be your brother, just be you.
Right, exactly. I think that's the trap of
life.
Yeah, of life in general. And specifically when in creativity, because people think, all right, there's a difference between like learning from predecessors, and stealing from predecessors,
exactly.
And it's like kind of figuring out how you can, take what people have done and improve upon that idea and make it your own. Add a little bit of this, a little extra spice here and there to kind of give it your own flavor.
Because your own flavor is what brings it to life, and then you own it. Where you're not just reproducing what someone else has done.
Exactly.
One thing I say on the show all the time is that it's so important that we be the best versions of ourselves, because you take you wherever you go.
Right.
So I don't take Matt Rose. I take Levi Harrison.
Right.
So wherever I go, I got to be comfortable about who I am, what I am, and in my own skin. So I think the same for the artist. You have to really, I think, as you said so eloquently, look at what other people have done. Great, but also look at what you can do and maybe do it differently, not necessarily better even, but just differently, because then it's you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you own it.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Like, there's some artists that I feel like they're not owning it. You gotta own. You gotta. That's why I like to talk about what I've been through.
Absolutely.
Which kind of brings it back. So that's kind of like where the majority of that song kind of stems from.
Right. What do your brothers think of that song? Because that has to have an impact on them. It's a heavy song.
Yeah.
It's as you were saying that, it resonated very deeply with me. So I'm sure for the people that have experienced it, it has to resonate deeply with them.
Right. I think they're more akin to, they're kind of in the same culture, and they understand, like, okay, I understand where he's coming from, and like, if you hear it once, you kind of take things in an interesting way, but if you hear it twice, you hear it 3 times, you hear it 4 times, then it's like, oh yeah, no, I understand what he's saying. He's basically saying, like, these are all the things that I've had to go through, and all the things that have made a huge impact. And the song is called Apology because the chorus says, excuse me, do I owe you an apology for the way I choose to live my life? Right. Our lives are our own, so we have to own that.
Very much so.
Right. You have to own that. And this song is a part of that. It's kind of just being like, hey, this is what I had to do. Right. This is what I had to do. Everything that I did, I'm not necessarily proud of, but I own it, the good and the bad. And so I think when they, when they understood, like, oh, where I'm coming from, why am I putting this all out? Then it's like, oh no, I get it. He has to own that.
What did your mom and dad think of this song? Because this is, especially I want to hear what the preacher said, what your dad said, but very intense.
My dad is a fan, man.
Is he really? That's great. That's great.
He's a fan. He, sometimes I choose to express my music in a more vulgar way than he would like, because it's kind of like, it's raw, and it's like, I'm just giving
urban.
it to you. Yeah, it's exactly how I feel. I'm not making any excuses for it.
Right.
And so sometimes he kind of disagrees with that.
Right.
But I think as a general thought, he understands that people are people. And that's exactly the point. And I often tell them, I'm like, you reach people the way you reach people.
Exactly.
You're a pastor, and you show people this. But sometimes, in order for people to get forward in life, they need someone who can come from the angle of what they're coming from.
Absolutely.
And it isn't always on necessarily the right side of things.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of knowing like, hey, other people that are, afraid to come out of their own situations,
Yes.
they need something that they can relate to that isn't like, always like,
right. So academic.
Exactly. So, I think he kind of understands. It's been some years, but he understands that, like,
The great thing is that he has to be aware that you're on your own path. And
Mm-hmm.
like the song, you're on your own path unapologetically. You're on your own path fearlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the ticket.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
So when you know that this album is coming up and soon as it's going to be released, and the world is going to have access to it, therefore have access to you, what goes through your mind now, knowing how your life is just about to change? Because people are going to know about Matt Rose, not only on a smaller scale, but on a more global, phenomenal scale.
It's it can honestly be a little scary when you really think about it. It's like, because I'm the type of artist where I'm gonna lay my heart on the line on every song.
Right.
So you're getting a really in-depth piece of my life that
Of who you
maybe I wouldn't necessarily tell a stranger just in a normal conversation.
Right.
So I think it's a little scary, but more than actually the transparency of what it is, it's the work of what it is. Right. Getting to that place where I've been working on these songs for 2-3 years.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
But your life also brought forth the songs.
Right.
2 or 3 years of working on it, of compiling it, but your life experience before have brought these songs into fruition.
Mm-hmm. Like you have to live it, and then you have to write it.
Exactly.
And then when you're done writing it, you're gonna live something, and you'll probably end up writing that, and it kind of ends up being that loop.
Right.
But it is all from a standpoint of like, how do I feel about it? I'm like, I'm excited and I'm terrified, and I think that's the best place to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because that means you're out of your comfort zone.
Correct.
Just enough to experience something new, to kind of, get yourself somewhere that you haven't been yet. And I'm excited for that part of it.
I think it's great. I think it's also great that you embrace the oddness of what those two polarities are: the joy of it all, and then what's going to happen here. Those are real feelings.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of, I think on a daily basis I struggle with it, but I have to also think like, I have a team of people behind me who are constantly like, hey, I'm helping you out. I believe in this project as much as I believe in you, and I believe in what you're saying, and that's a huge part of it. Like having that support system to kind of make you feel like, all right, this is scary, but I have a way. Yeah, I have a way to do this. Like we have a way to do this. Like there's a system for this, and kind of getting into that regiment of like, every day,
absolutely,
you have to do this. This has to be a habit of yours. You have to wake up and think like, I can do this. You know what I mean?
Because you can.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning, kind of understanding that, when I was on my own before I had a team, it would seem nearly impossible to have gotten to this point. I've been at this doorstep before with a project, but it wasn't a solo project, and taking on the solo role, and then the journey is like, I started here, I got here. I worked a lot of odd jobs doing that kind of thing, and eventually just happened to do, one performance where the right person was in the crowd and was like, hey, I want to work with you.
Exactly.
And that was, a year and a half ago.
Right.
And, even at that point, I already had songs, and it's like, it's people think it's an overnight thing.
You've been doing the work for years.
Yeah. It's a year. It's like you put in 5 years of work for it to happen overnight, kind of thing, like, right? So it's like, I put it out one day, and the next day maybe it has enough plays to garner some type of movement.
Absolutely.
But it was 5 years coming to that one day.
Absolutely.
So I just think to myself, I didn't think I could get here, and I have no idea what's going on. I probably don't know if I can get there, but I know that if I keep going with it,
you're gonna get somewhere.
I'm gonna get somewhere, and it'll be different than where I am now.
Absolutely.
I could tackle that when I get to
get there. Exactly. The key is to keep the movement.
Exactly.
You're not going lateral, you're going forward.
Right.
What do you do when you're not listening to music, when you're not writing music? What does Matt Rose do to decompress, to enjoy life, to take a breath?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the time, it's kind of changed over time
Yes.
because
You've changed over
yeah,
time.
because I've changed over time. So I used to do a lot of I used to play basketball a lot and
Yes.
kind of try to remain active. And
Right.
to be honest, I've kind of it's kind of dwindled down to more like a couple jogs a week. But I'm still trying
doing
to I'm
something? Yes.
I'm trying to keep myself
Right.
fit to
Right.
to a degree. But when I'm not doing that, it's just I have my lovely girlfriend. I love
Awesome.
her. She's awesome.
What's her name?
Her name is Daniela.
Hey,
And,
Daniela, big shout out for Matt Rose. The ring is in the mail.
Oh gosh. But
Tell her to put a ring on it.
we got a ways to go, but
Okay.
we're getting there.
You're
We're getting
getting
there.
there.
It's one of those marathon.
Got
I'm
it.
in it for the long haul.
Got it.
But she's great, so I spend a lot of time with her.
Now, is she a creative also?
She actually is aspiring to work in events, which is really great. So she's done a lot of events with her college, and then she did some events out, kind of working with some other groups like So Far.
Yes.
Sounds is another event group here popular.
Right.
And now
That's
she's
tough work also.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
So she's pulling through on that side of entertainment, which is more administrative. But
It's fantastic.
yeah.
She'll be able to help, as things grow and grow and
Yes.
grow too, So
Yeah.
it's good to have a partner like that
Exactly.
at your side.
It's like reverse side of the same coin.
Exactly right.
So it's good to be she kind of understands. She understands. She has a foot in the door where, if I'm having an issue, I can talk to her, and she's like, "Oh, I get it." I've been
that's
around
what you
that,
want.
yeah.
You want the friend as well as the one that really has that eye on you to say, hey, this is what really you should think about, or maybe not do this. You want
Right.
that eye of discernment. 'Cause sometimes we don't see everything,
Mhm.
but people around us who love us and appreciate us can see even better sometimes.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think, yeah, man, she's a blessing.
Yes, she is.
She's a blessing. She honestly is.
The ring is in the mail.
She's gonna be checking
Big
for
carrots.
it. Man, Valentine's Day just passed and everything.
Exactly
I'm like, oh,
right.
Man, it's coming down, right?
Exactly.
But no, she's
And tell me this too, Matt Rose. Who are your heroes in music that you listen to when you're, relaxing? Who do you
man.
enjoy listening to?
right now. I got to give it up to Daniel Caesar. Yeah, Daniel Caesar, if you're here.
right.
He's an amazing artist.
Right.
I really love the soulful approach, but also he still has these sprinkles of alternative kind of sounds and
Yes.
really borrows from a lot of genres.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I aspire to do in my own music.
Right.
I started listening to music. I grew up in church, so I started listening to gospel music first, and then I went.
You were a baby.
Yeah, exactly. Before I even knew what music was, I was listening to gospel music.
Exactly.
And I kind of went through my phases. I went into punk rock, and then
Right.
I went into neo soul, and then I went into R&B, and then I went into hip hop, and then now I feel like I'm going back in reverse order. And it's really cool, but it's cool to see another artist who's really, really doing it on that level. So
Right.
Daniel Caesar, I really love Frank Ocean.
Frank Ocean, great music also. Yeah.
Another great, awesome person. Just an example of how anyone can use their voice to do something really cool and phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Because people would say oh, I don't like his voice, and then I personally love his voice.
He has a great voice.
But
he lives in his integrity too.
Yeah.
Of who he is.
Yeah, and it's the type of songs he writes, not everyone can sing, and I think that
Correct.
that speaks to the ingenuity, the creativity, all of that, bundled into one thing, because he can pull that off.
Oh, very much so.
So yeah, Frank Ocean, probably two other people, Chance the Rapper, Kendrick Lamar. I love.
Oh,
the
Kendrick
lyrical,
Lamar. Yeah. Chance also.
Yeah.
Chance is a really, humanitarian as well as extraordinary rapper.
Right.
I mean, he's a one talented guy.
Yeah.
He really has set the bar high for everyone else to really say, okay, let's go there.
Right. So when I listen to their stuff, I love the lyrical content, and I love what they're doing outside of, just writing a song. Their performances, the messages that they're trying to send. You see, Kendrick perform at the Grammys or whatever the case is. It's always something that really is thought provoking.
Very much so.
And that's
and
kind of what I
movement
want to do.
provoking.
Yeah. Exactly.
What do you want your music to bring about with respect to legacy? What do you want to have your music move people toward with respect to changing how they think?
Yeah. I think my music is... I want people to use it as a vehicle to get them to one place to the other. And I mean, there's inspirational music, and I think that's great. It's very uplifting. I like to listen to Tide Trivet and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yes.
But I think there's another type of inspirational music where it's can people relate to that? And it's I grew up, not rich, but I also didn't grow up in the hood per se.
Right.
So it's like I have a certain dichotomy, and I think that there are a lot of African American people who fit in that, and people in general who fit in like a weird space where it's like, oh, I was raised with this, but I was raised around this,
Right.
and kind of like feeling like they don't fit because they want to listen to this type of thing or this type of thing, and it doesn't fit in what most people are doing. Where it's like, oh, all these people over here, all these people at my high school only listen to rap, and like all these people over at my job only listen to country, and it's
Right,
like,
right.
like I want to make music that allows people to feel like who they are,
Yeah.
because they find that in me. Like, I'm just as weird as you are. I'm just as like an outcast. I'm just as like quirky as you want, and that's okay. You can be that
Who
as
you
much
are.
as you want to be. Exactly. And so I want my music, the legacy of it, to be like, something where people can just listen to it and find refuge in being themselves when they hear it. Like, oh, this is interesting because it's not just rap. He's rapping, but he's singing, but it also sounds like he's got a rock thing, or like this next song kind of sounds like an ode to like some Coldplay stuff that he really listened to, or like some old Simple Plan track that I listened to in middle school or something. Like, finding that and be able to service all of that in one record. So you don't have to pop in between all the different genres. You can listen to mine,
And it's
just
enough.
hear it. It's enough.
One thing I think that your music will do, especially with Apology, when you rap that for us, is that I believe that your music and your message will be about building bridges. And I think when you build bridges with humanity, you bring humanity together versus a barrier or a wall. I think your music will really do that effectively. Is there something else you want to share with us? You want to sing another song for us that you like?
Man, yeah. Let me think. Let's give you the second verse of Apology.
Let's
How
do
about
it.
that?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Give me a second.
Oh, that's right.
I'm down a
You
little
go
bit.
to
Got
that
me
creative
nervous, Mr.
place.
Levi.
Oh, that's all right, dude. That's all right.
Okay. Just want to be like, all right. I'm gonna do a different song.
Do whatever you want to do. The mic is yours.
All right. I used to want to be like them television rappers. Money, cars, and fame, and live happily ever after. Who would have thought that the son of a pastor would capture the hearts of the sinners and saints, no tabernacle? Paint a picture I ain't. Tainted and heinous, all music ain't for the faint at heart. Heart is heavy with anguish. My brain is heavy with knowledge, with skills I've learned and polished, all sitting on 20 good years like 20s on an Impala. Still so I ain't stainless, burdened by things that plague us. Everyone has a demon. Does everyone have an angel? Paying dues won't get you paid, so not in pesos. When the bills ain't paid for, then you pivot to yeah, yo, if you live it, then say so. Live it, my all is given, yet hated by hypocritics, slow to comprehend the mission. Kilos from typical, my dope ways a little different. Can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you what it isn't.
That was beautiful, man. Now, what is that about? I want you to tell our audience. Hearing that, I feel it's about, but I want you to talk about it.
Yeah. So it's actually that is a spoken word piece that'll be coming out later this year,
Right.
and it's kind of it speaks about like kind of my journey through music and understanding. Again, it's like, I used to want to be like those television rappers,
Right.
like back in the day when Lil Wayne and all these people, and it's like, again, like I grew up wanting to be someone else, I feel like we all do in a way. You have
All of
your
us.
mentors
we have
until
our-
you
we have
figure it out,
mentors and
right?
heroes.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
we are.
I used to want to be like those television rappers. Money, cause, and fame live happily ever after. Right. But who would have thought that the son of a pastor would capture the hearts of the sinners and saints on tabernacle? And that's kind of what I was talking about with my dad, where it's like, you can, everyone, you can catch the saints, but it's harder to catch the sinners. It's like, it's who do you really want to approach to? And I feel like, I've made my choice. I'm like, I want to get both.
Absolutely.
But if I had to choose, I want to choose the people who
really
are where I came from.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sinners and saints, no tabernacle. So paint a picture I ain't.
Right.
I'm not necessarily saying I'm either one of those things.
No.
I'm somewhere in between. Most people are.
Right.
Paint a picture I ain't. Tainted and heinous, all music ain't for the faint at heart, and my heart is heavy with anguish. Right. It's like these are the ails. These are the ailments. Heart is heavy with anguish. Heart is heavy with anguish. Skills I've learned and polished, sitting on 20 good years like 20s on an Impala. This is my journey. Right. I'm 26. And this is all like, trying to make it relatable to someone who's back where I'm at. I come from down south, giant cars, big rims, that kind of stuff. And so the verse really just speaks to like, it alludes to a lot of things that people have to deal with, like, kilos from typical, my dope weighs a little different.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I don't sell dope, but I'm dope.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's kind of one of those things. And so the whole verse is just meant to be like, hey, look, like, I recognize my greatness.
Yeah.
You should recognize your greatness.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter where you're going from.
Mm-hmm.
It just matters where you're going to and how you're going to choose to get there.
Exactly.
That's the aim.
Exactly.
So
I love it, man. I really think the depth of the messages of your music will resonate with people. I think they're gonna just embrace you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. This year, I got a huge thanks to my management.
Yes.
They've really put in a lot of extra work, especially the end of last year.
Yes.
And this project is going to release with Black 17 through Sony Orchard Distributing.
Yes.
So I'm really excited, and I got to go to the Sony Orchard office at the end of last year.
Fantastic.
Meet the team, talk to them about like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to touch. This is why I'm doing it. It's not, it's not a facade.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, you're living it.
Yeah, I'm living it, and I want to give back. And
Right.
so we've been, I had my management reach out to the Make-A-Wish Foundation because I wanted to let them know, like, this has been a huge impact. And
On
not
your
just,
life.
not just, because some people are like, hey, we've granted wishes to all these people with ailments and, disorders and
Right.
diseases and whatnot.
Yes.
But like, what about all the other people that are impacted by that one decision that they
Right.
made?
Exactly.
I don't have sickle cell,
Right.
but that changed my life.
Of course.
I literally would not be the person I am without Make-A-Wish Foundation, my brothers, and like that whole situation happening. I just wouldn't be here.
Because you've seen that journey with your brothers going into sickle cell crisis. You've seen
Mhm.
the pain that they've gone through. You've seen them being rushed to the hospital when they're in pain. You've seen them not feeling good. So all that has to really impact the journey of your musical life too,
Right.
tremendously.
Exactly. Yeah. My oldest brother, Mike, he's in the hospital constantly, in and out of the hospital.
Right.
And like, people don't really understand what that really means. What that really means is like, how do you hold a steady job?
Right.
What that really means is like, how do you pursue your dreams?
Right.
What that really means is like, you can't stay up late, you can't go out late, you can't do this, because the physical toll on your body will
Absolutely.
literally put you in the hospital. It's
Right.
literally risking your life every day. So
Absolutely.
every day he tries to do something else, if he wants to come here and work with me on music, it's literally risking his life to do it.
Right.
Like, he'll come here, he'll be in the hospital probably guaranteed at least a week while he's here.
Right.
And it's like, oh, he's making that. He's literally sacrificing his own life to do the things that he loves.
Right.
And
And to be a part of your life.
exactly. And so it's like, that's why I do it. I'm like, okay, I want to do it so that I can help him do it. I want to do it so I
Absolutely.
can help my family do what they want to do. Like, I want to do it to prove I can do it to myself. It's personal. I want to do it to prove to everyone else that they can do it. Being a musician and really doing it the way most people think you want to do it, you're 1 in a million. It's a 1 in a million shot.
Oh yeah, and it's not not an easy road.
Yeah, it's a difficult road, and it's a 1 in a million shot.
Right.
Most musicians, it's very difficult to the musicians that we see on TV. That's 1%. That's 1%.
Oh,
of,
if not less.
Yeah, if not less. It's
Right.
like it's the very few, and
Right.
most of us of what I'm doing, we're the many. Like,
Right.
okay, every day I'm waking up and trying to figure out how can I fit this in.
Right.
When I'm not doing that, I have to do other things.
What I really love about when I speak to creatives and artists is the fact that you do what you do often with very little pay, but because you love it so much, you still do it. The creative is the person that will get 20 people saying no, and hopefully they'll have one that will say yes, but they keep on going. So I'm always amazed at what I call the determination and the stick-to-itiveness of the creative. Where do you find that strength to keep going, and not to get tired?
I'll quote Kanye West. He said, "To me, giving up is way harder than trying." I think I got ingrained at a very young age. I was taught to not give up. And my dad is one of those people where he's like, he can wear a million hats and do a million different things, and he's owned like a few different businesses, and he's got his own thing going over here and over there. And I kind of grew up around that environment of us moving and being like, hey, you have to do it. You're gonna have to figure it out. You're on your own. I left when I was, when I was 18, and I never moved back home.
Right.
I've been home to visit, but it's like, I'm on my own, and I'm gonna
Yes.
figure it out. And I
And
think
you are figuring it out.
yeah, I am figuring it out, and I will continue to figure it out because I
Right.
have to figure it
You
out because
have
there's
to.
no safety net. And I
No.
think that that's a part of it. I think part of it is like, how much do you love what you're doing? I think, if you don't love what you're gonna do, then you're not gonna have the drive to really do it. I'm only gonna do the things that I love.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna be creative today. When I'm
Yes.
not working on music, I'm a designer.
Right.
When I'm not working as a designer, I'm a creative consultant. I'm gonna be creative every single day because that's what I love to do. It's easy to find determination to do the things we love,
course,
right? So if
of
you love eating
course.
chips every day, that's what you
Yes,
got.
that's what you
It's
gotta do.
easy. You don't have to get anybody to coach you to do that.
Exactly.
Right? So, I think that's half of it. The
Right.
other half is like, you ever been at a circus and you see the people doing flips and all the stuff.
Right.
When that safety net is gone, they have to do it.
Oh, and they have to do it properly.
Right? When they're practicing, they might fall a couple times. The safety
Right.
net is up. They
Right.
can do that. They'll try a couple new tricks, maybe
Right.
something, see if figure it out because they got the
Right.
safety net. When that safety net is out of the way and it's life or death, then you make it happen.
You have to.
Because we're animals. We're always going to choose life.
Absolutely.
And we're always going to try to do it. The majority of us are going to try to make it worth doing.
Right.
So I think when you put those two things together, like I don't have plan Bs. I have plan A's and then I have plan AA, which is another way to make plan A work.
Exactly.
And plan AB,
Exactly.
which is to make, plan AA
A
work.
work.
So AA, so
Exactly.
I don't have the safety net of like,
Right.
let's go, I'll just, I'll wop out my, degree to go do something else. It's like, no,
You're
this is
doing
this is what I do. I went to school for music.
Right.
I couldn't afford to graduate. It was ridiculous.
Right.
The amount of money that it takes to
Right.
I went to Berklee College of Music. It's
Right.
insane amount of money
Of
to go.
course.
And when I was there, I was like, okay, I'm going to start designing. I'm going to design on the side. And I started designing and, I built up a portfolio and
Yes.
I did internships and I worked for free and I did all these other things while I was studying music and doing shows. I was still designing. And when I moved here, I worked and then I found, an agency that would let me in at entry level. I worked design until I was like, all right, cool. Then I started freelancing. I got
Right.
clients. I started my own company and
Making it happen.
Yeah, I'm making it happen. And it's not like, someone had to give me a sheet of paper to prove that I had to do it. I don't need that. There's certain things like, you
But
can't
still,
be a
you-
doctor without
No,
but for creatives particularly,
Yes.
a lot of these things are like, you can teach yourself how to do this. I have
Very
friends who
much
have
so.
taught themselves how to animate,
Yes.
friends who have taught themselves photography and are
Right.
making ridiculous amounts of money to
Right.
do things that are,
That they love.
that they love to do. And it's like, it's really just about like, how much do you love it? How much
Right.
do you want it? And how much do you believe in yourself to do it? And if you don't believe in yourself, then that's where you start. You start thinking like, how do I need you building that confidence to be like, I'm going to be that guy.
Absolutely. What would you tell, if you could speak right now to like young artists, young creatives who are just on their path, just starting to really like venture out and see what they want to do? What would you share with them right now about making this journey successfully as they define it, not how society defines it? Because society often defines success with monetary gain, but all money's not good money, as you know, like I do. So it's really about making your dreams come true. What would you share with other creatives about going forward to make their lives happen that you wish someone had shared with you?
Do it the way you want to do it. And don't be relentless with it. Even with my management now, they're like, well, this is the way it's usually done. I'm like, I don't really care the way it's usually done. Like, I want to be in standards of professionalism. That's great. But this is how I want it done. I want it done this way because this is how I morally feel about these things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And when you do that, it takes longer, definitely. But you garner a bit of respect from the people that you are working with. And that word of mouth will travel. And everything that I do now is word of mouth. Like, I live from word of mouth. My music travels from word of mouth.
Right.
My design skills, they travel from word of mouth. These clients, these jobs that I'm getting, everything is word of mouth. And that is very, very powerful when you build your career off of like your own skill set and your own truth, and you're like, do it that way. Right. You don't have to conform to everything. Mm-hmm. There are definitely standards and you want to be, there or above it, but do it your way.
I totally agree with that. I'll share with you when I was going to do the radio show, I spoke to about 8 or 9 other physicians, said, I want to do this radio show and blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, no, you're a doctor. You don't do radio shows. You don't do that. I said, well, why not? I have a message. I want to talk to people. No, you don't do that. The medical society is going to really disown you. And for like a week or two, I had to really think about that. And finally I thought, do I really care? Huh. My dad would always say, it's never important what people think about you. It's important about what you think about yourself. And finally, like yourself, had to, what other people think, to push that to the left and let everything else go from within about what I want to create and who I am and how I want to live. So I think for young artists, they have to do the same thing. Right. Do you, unapologetically.
Yeah. because that's what sets you
apart.
Those things that people are like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work. Yeah, go towards that thing.
Exactly.
And try it, you know, because the worst thing that can happen is it fails and then you're right back where you started,
right?
Except with more knowledge,
right?
You know, because success is just it's a combination of all your failures.
That really
like
is.
This album isn't my first album.
Right.
It'll probably be my best album because the other ones weren't as good because I had to learn and I had to make those connections and people had to see the drive and they had to see, you know, the precision. You know, I had to get more exact with what I want. And, you know, I couldn't.
Then you have to discover you.
Yeah, exactly. As an artist and then also just as a person, as a human. Okay, am I going to be the type of person where this is just a job for me? Is that thing? Okay, some people want to do that. That's fine. They want to do the thing. Everybody's got to make a living.
For you, it's not that.
Right. Do you want to live it? Or I'm going to live it. I want to wake up every day and be proud of what I'm putting out. Right. You know?
Right. You know, as you're talking, you know, it's real clear that, you know, for some reason I just had this flash in my mind about your album entitled The Evolution of Matt Rose, because that's really what you're about, you know. I literally saw in my mind like the snapshot of Evolution of Matt Rose, and the title, one of the title songs in my head I saw was called No Safety Net, you know, because that's what you really are. You're evolving, and you've lived this life without any safety nets. You lived a life of this continuous mission, that you're on a mission to make your life work for you. And if that works for other people, great. But if it doesn't, you're still on your mission. You're still doing Matt Rose at the fullest. And I think that quote by Kanye West, who's an amazing artist, I mean, really phenomenal artist and phenomenal person with respect to, you know, his music and what he brings about. His mission is real clear, you know, what he wants to do. And he does it again, word of the day, unapologetically. And you're doing the same.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
We appreciate you, Matt Rose.
Yeah.
We really do. Now, how can people reach out to you via social media?
My main socials, Instagram. I'm always on there posting stuff. I am Matt Rose, pretty much on every social media platform. So I am Matt Rose. That is my real name. My parents were lucky enough to give me.
It's perfect name. And it's IAMMATTROSE.
Yep, exactly how it
Matt
sounds.
Rose. That's on IG, on Facebook, Twitter,
all that stuff.
Everything.
It's there.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure people will reach out to you, man.
I hope they do.
I want to tell you in advance, congratulations on the album, but more importantly, congratulations on just being you.
Thank you.
Know, I think the world is going to really embrace you with a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of empathy, and a lot of truth, because you bring that. And we attract to us who we are. So as long as you live in the light, and I think you are a carrier of the light, I think more great, phenomenal things are going to come your way because you so deserve them. So get ready.
Thank you.
All right, Matt Rose. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is Dr. Levi with the incomparable, amazing, creative Matt Rose, rapper, singer, producer, artist, designer, speaker, motivational guy. What can you say? He's a 10 out of 10. So I want to thank you, Matt, for being with us. You were phenomenal.
Thank you for having me. It's an amazing show.
Absolutely. So again, this is Dr. Levi. I want to remind you to be the best version of yourself. Be kind to the veterans. Those women and men are really some of the true heroes of our society, because we have our sustained freedoms for them. So be kind to everyone. And remember, when you see somebody, everybody's a reflection of ourselves, and nobody's better than anyone else. The doctor is no better than the dog walker or the teacher. It's simply a job of service. Why? Because I can be the doctor today, might be the patient tomorrow. So it's really important that we treat everyone with love, care, and compassion, no matter their race, their creed, their sex, their sexuality, their gender identity. Does that really matter? Not really. But we can treat other people the way we want to be treated. So be kind, and I'll see you back next week. This is Dr. Levi. Have a great day. Don't forget, check out Matt Rose at I Am Matt Rose. That's this great guy. Bye, guys.